So this is a poem that unfortunately is still relevant. If they sent poets to war. If they sent poets to war, the 6 o'clock news would have footage of a cavalry of slam poets riding into a machine gun nest of quiet meditations. An old woman receiving Congressional Medal of Honor for single-handedly taking out a pillbox of overindulgent rappers with a single sonic grenade. History would record how academics, shell-shocked by the new, wept openly in their foxholes, while graduate students ran at each other naked on a drunken field, deconstructing Rimbaud until they slowly died of trench mouth. How performance art sappers would sneak behind the lines to steal metaphors, while squadrons of bombastic death poets released their bile at will to disrupt the supply line of images. Photographs of greeting card rhymers and jingle writers littering the beach and hanging in the razor wire.
Jonathan, closer to the...
Tribunals will be held in The Hague to prosecute critics who, wielding blunt clubs, attack high school kids in their classrooms, burying their bodies in a mass grave of original thought. Publishers would pin medals on the wounded, the brave, and the dead. No territories, no Halliburton, no quarter, no surrender. And if that doesn't work, we can always go back to killing each other. So, this poem actually got published in the Journal of American Poetry. So there I was in the middle of the lockdown, and I get a call. This one of my poems got published, and that was very exciting. This is called Public School. Poor pleasure is my girl, that filthy little chestnut, wild as a spaghetti stain, bobbing out of her seat, bouncing, dancing backwards, laughing at the teasing 'cause she peed her pants. Poor pleasure wears no ribbons. She sings her songs to herself, spinning ecstatic and smelly in shamanic spirals of rebellion. She needs to be medicated. She needs to be tied to rules and books and test scores. I have a lesson. I have a plan. I have a bar of soap. I have an end to your teasing, ribbons for your hair. I have a cage to put you in. Stop all this dancing and listen. I have other children, neat as little bridges. Poor pleasure cries all the time, a deep, sobbing wound. She has snot all over her face, and I am frightened of her disease. So this one got published in the same spot. It's called After the Funeral. I emerged through a keyhole, fat-bellied and ham-fisted, my club feet wedged into pink rubber shoes. And you were there, all rump and substance, an elf among shoemakers. At first, we just stood there, staring at the open cellar door, hoping the monsters would stay put, praying all the lessons our fathers taught us about integrity, ingenuity, and the geometry of fish could hammer up pages of memory in his bee's wings to circumscribe a ring around a bucket full of dark, or fade like vinegar into 3 acts of kindness. 1, the first time they kissed us with their whiskers and stink. 2, all the times he said you were pretty. 3, that time he spoke to the stars, saying, "Here is my son, be grateful." We walked down the dank stone steps together, you and I, to rummage, day in and day out, shuffling through the indifferent boxes for an explanation or roadmap among the specimen jars, hieroglyphs, and plans of attack. So I teach art to little children. This is actually how I teach 3rd grade. This is not like fiction. This is actually me teaching 3rd grade art. I'm funny, I said. No, you're not, replied the cockeyed boy in the 3rd row, drawing a skinny elephant shooting fire at an army of tiny men. That's the funny part. Finders, keepers, false alarms, a forest of feathered fish. You mean dinosaurs, says the freckled girl, drawing a flat fluorescent mermaid. Where are the penguins, I ask, and the disco ball? Where are the octopuses and squids? If I had a seahorse the color of a blueberry crayon, I would name her Lulu Bell. and ride along the arroyo in spring among the pink cactus blossoms and red prickly pears. Is that a picture of me? Where's the fat belly? No, not this time, he says, in a voice of dry sticks. So this is also a true story. It would be, children don't get to do this now. This is called, boy, these bugs are really bugging me. This is called the Buddha of Bela Lugosi. When we were children in the summer in Petoskey, 7 or 8 6-year-old boys would run to the widowers for candy. We had a route. First to the M&M's man in the corner to stuff our pockets till he hollered, Pepsi gum from the mailman, and hard candy ribbons from the veterans watching soaps with tinfoil bows on the rabbit ears. But only Polly and I would go to the big brown house where the silent butler would answer the door and let us in. The old man would give us each 3 spicy gumdrops. They were for adults, we could tell, grimacing at cinnamon, clove, and sassafras. But we came every day to wait at the edge of the Persian carpet in that dark, carved oak cave for the birdcage elevator door to open and the gaunt, tall man in his ash-gray suit and cane. Hello, boys. Would you like a gumdrop? He kept them in his pocket and placed them in our hands like sugar jewels. As the old man gazed at us, smiling in his frailty like the Buddha of Bela Lugosi, Polly and I never said a word. We clutched our foul-tasting treasure, making our escape like thieves, never waiting for the butler. It's true, though. We had a route. Like we would go, there was like 7 or 8 with old men, and we'd go get candy from them. They were sweet. This is called The Poems I Never Write. In the landscape of first lines, the road curls past an old woman with a bundle of calla lilies on her head on the train to Coatzacoalcos. An old man is wrenching an infant's legs over its head, over and over as I wake in the squalling wail, over and over in the landscape of first lines. There is a delicacy, a pink shadow on the mountain. The cats are in the drawer, you murmured, as my hand fell over your rounding sleep in the landscape of first lines. I get to say something pretty, like you do. The light between the maple leaves in the woods behind the asylum, the yellow spots of leopard frogs, and cloud banks of cherry blooms in the landscape of first lines. I get to tell why the dishwashers at the Federal Reserve stopped calling me Goldilocks. How when the bull refused to die, the matador stuck a dagger in his forehead and slapped him on the cheek. How the priest was gunned down by a boy on a bicycle when the streetlights called my name in the landscape of first lines. I am a maker of paper camels, a gluer of painted fish, a tiny Icarus. This poem lives in my new little novella that's coming out in the fall. In the little novella, there's a whole bunch of poets, well, several poets anyways, and they all write poetry. So I got the opportunity to actually try to write in somebody else's voice, although this one's probably closest to mine. Lunch in the Park in Tucson, Arizona, 1979. We grew up in an expanse of skin knees, I in my paisley tie and Bermuda shorts, and you with your patent leather shoes. Once upon a time, an old man riding a black bicycle offered me a rotten apple as an act of kindness. Why didn't I listen to my silent father and his GI Bill, when every penny nail and size of screw had a mayonnaise jar, every nut and bolt, watching a generation watching Vietnam in black and white. We were wonderkin who could have been anything in that America, and all we had to do was wake up, fly right, and keep our noses clean, and we could walk that rail all the way to Easy Town. But there were colors and odors and faraway tribes. So we followed the ghosts into the dark, into the town, into the garden of hungry men, where Kundalini yogis doled out plates of wheat berries with their stark white turbans and pooling dark eyes. Into the center, on the edge of the lip, there was an old woman, and I was your old man. So this is the last one I'm going to read, and the last poem I've written. For my wife. I think there's something wrong with me. Grief runs away so quickly. In my suit, sipping funeral home coffee, weighing dutiful boredom against the poisoned abyss. My mother's death loomed like a storm over Lake Michigan, a white shroud across the horizon. I said my last words as we crossed the street in Houston, yelling into the phone. My brothers around her bed, muttering their niceties. Silence understanding the awaiting silence. I asked my father, "Are you sleeping?" "No, I'm dead," he replied. And that was that. I think there's something wrong with me. Death's shadow skitters past in a heartbeat as I have another donut, dust the sugar off my tie. I don't wear that weighted net like others do, because I believe you will live forever.